David, did I lose you?
Hey, no, I was the only one in there for a while. I was like, okay, cool.
Hello, LinkedIn. I hit the live button. What happened was it like kicked me out. I was like, oh no, I'm going live and it's just David by himself. So I refreshed real quick and it was still like processing the going live with the music. So it's storming out here in Florida. So hopefully my internet will hold up and everything will.
Yeah, or maybe not. Let's see. Anybody on the show yet? Leave a comment if you can hear us. We're live 50 seconds here. Anybody in the show? I'm sure that we will get started here in just a second. Let's see here. How's everybody doing? Hey, from Michigan. All right, LinkedIn user. Hey, Jen and David. Gurpreet, how you doing? All right. Hey, Mo and St. Pete. What's up, Mo? I don't know if I'm the only one on here or if you can hear me, or if Jen's the only one on here.
I'm here.
Hey, there you go.
It's the storms. I'm so sorry. I was like, wow.
Santa.
I've gone twice in one episode.
Right. Cool. Yeah, well, here we go.
Okay,
hey,
so
Toronto. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, and we've got some people joining us. We've got some people in St. Pete. We've got Gurpreet over in Ontario. So Raleigh, North Carolina. So we got some folks in here. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sorry, it's like raining cats and dogs over here in Florida. So if you lose me, David, just continue talking because apparently that works.
I could talk forever if need be. So that's fine. You might lose the whole audience, but I'll keep talking. No problem.
You know what I thought was really funny was even though it kicked me out, I came back in and you were just still live. And I was like, well, that works. I could just like leave and come back and no problem. That's kind of cool.
Get a cup of coffee, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm sure everyone knows you, right? But for those people who don't know who you are, why don't you just tell us who you are? I mean, I reached out to you because I couldn't come out to the sales development conference. And I know that that's something that, I sort of look forward to each year is what kind of content you have. And so I really wanted to get your insights, right, with some of the talk. So why don't you tell us a little bit about you and what you do? And
sure. So I was running sales development teams in the tech industry for a few years, and I just, kept pulling the thread, and I thought it was just a very cool topic to talk about. And 10 years later, we started Tenbound about 5 years ago as a research and advisory firm that focuses on the SDR BDR world. And, whether from sort of an executive level about how to run those teams and make them productive, middle management, how to really lead teams from the front. And then from an individual contributor perspective, like how do I actually do the job? And so we work with companies to help them to improve that performance. And then we also do a lot of events. So you mentioned the conference. We were doing the conference live for a couple of years, and it was really fun and really successful, and then kind of got kicked in the face like everybody else last year. So now it's virtual, and we put out a lot of content, webinars, podcasts, blog posts, and stuff like that, all about sales development. So.
Yeah, and I really appreciate the content. I know right now you're doing a survey, and one of those things that sales development leaders love is the data of the most current metrics, right, across the industry. So I appreciate that you put out that content because it's nice to be able to sort of compare what you're able to achieve for your team versus what's going on out there in the market. So I really appreciate that. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, right, is there was a point like during the summer where there was a lot of talk about sales development leaders getting a seat at the table. And then I saw a VP of sales development position. And I was like, my goodness, people finally see the power of sales development. They're like, we're on the board, right? Yeah. I got super excited. Yeah. And then, right, as time evolved, it's a new year, suddenly everyone's talking about, oh no, we gotta go back to full sales cycle. And I'm like, no. So I want to hear your thoughts on that and just how you see the industry evolving as you're the one who provides the stats and all that for the most part. So
yeah. Sure. Yeah, it'd be cool if I could, just decree like, something like that. But really, we just kind of study the market. So not to give you a total consultant answer, but it really depends on the company. I mean, for some companies, a full cycle sales rep is certainly appropriate, and that works great, right? For other companies, when you think about sales development, there's so much effort that goes into finding prospects and getting their data into the system and writing a customized message and, the effort of making the calls and all the stuff that goes into prospecting. For some companies, it makes a lot more sense to separate those out. And for some companies, it makes a lot of sense to have that department be super strategic and important and have a VP of sales development, so it's sort of a spectrum. And I think it's just, becoming more sophisticated from a business perspective. Like what kind of business are you in? And does it make sense to do full cycle or have a sales development team? It's take it from that perspective. That's how I would look at it.
Well, yeah, and I agree. And I think it also depends on how you want to grow, right? So I see it as sales development as like turbocharging the revenue engine, right? To make it go faster. Whereas full sales cycle, you're focusing on the amount of time that you have to prospect, but you also need to work deals. And, depending on what you sell in the organization, that's the biggest factor. But I remember being full sales cycle, right? Even though I always enjoyed that top of the funnel. And I just remember always feeling like I was running out of time and that like, if I wasn't super strategic about like time blocking and stuff like that, that there was never enough time in the day, right?
Yeah.
So there were some benefits to that. But then again, I go all the way back to green screen DOS like software. So that was more than a minute ago.
Totally. 100%. I mean, and so you think of it this way, like if you're in a bootstrapped, 2-person company that has no money and, you've got a good product, but you're a technical founder, right? And so, your first hire is going to be just somebody who's like a Swiss Army knife. They can do SDR, AE, customer success, set up Salesforce, like do everything, right? But then, at the other end of the spectrum, if you just got, your product works, you've got product market fit, you just got $5 million and you need to call, every real estate agent in the United States and try to sell them your software, at that point, it's like, you may think about having, 2 teams, one, like even more SDRs, like have 5 SDRs and then have 1 salesperson. So it really just, it's really like where you're at as a business where it makes sense, No,
and I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I totally do.
Like broad statements like we all need to go back to being, full cycle sales reps is just, come on. Like, I don't know if that's just like clickbait or what, but that's just not, I don't know. It doesn't make sense.
No, and I get it. I think, when I see these comments, I think it goes back to talking about the experience. Just like, like with the B2C, you went from like Amazon, right? Who will do everything for you super fast and will, I can order something now and probably have it to my door within a few hours because I'm in the Tampa Bay area. And, that's easy for me, right? And so they're talking about mostly creating a better digital experience. But the same respect, you can create a great digital experience by having that super close alignment. So, why would you throw out the benefit of being able to speed up that revenue engine is sort of what I ask myself.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the complaints about SDRs and stuff is that they just they create friction, in the buying process. So I'll give you an example, like especially with product-led growth, companies where you plug in the software, you start using it, you're getting some value. And it's like the dream is that there's no friction, you just keep upgrading and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, now I have to talk to an SDR and I have to answer all these questions and I just want to buy this, right? And so in that case, it's like there's a couple things. One, maybe the SDR program is not necessary there. I mean, if it's a completely click-through process, then you're good to go. I mean, unless someone's raising their hand, they want to talk to somebody, then yeah, maybe you need to put an SDR in that process, right? But for some people, like if you're spending a couple $100 a month on a piece of software, sure, I can do that without. But if I'm going up to like $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, like I kind of want to talk to a human being, and so if the SDR can help, facilitate that through the buying cycle, then that's a very appropriate use of someone's time, So yeah, it's that type of stuff.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. So Lydia here, Lydia is the CEO of Ventive, right? She says entirely depends on the business. Think outside of software and very specialized business niches where building genuine one-on-one relationships are critical. And I would agree with that. But like before coming over to Inside Out, right? I was a consultant. And so since I, in my career, worked with a lot of companies that were very industry specific, most of the consulting I did was for industry specific. And so, the idea that you can reach more people had value to them. And so while it is a one-on-one relationship, at what point is it one-on-one? It depends on the customer, right? Or the prospect of when they want that one-on-one, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean,
and to that point, like if everything's going great with your sales team and their calendars filled up with new meetings and relationship building meetings and the pipeline is great and everything's great, then of course, just keep going the way it is, right? But if you, one indicator that we look at is like, if you open up your sales rep's calendar and it's just empty, it's like, that's a red flag. I mean, maybe there's, what's going on there? Like, do you need some help with the prospecting? Like, maybe we can hire a outsourced SDR company, or maybe you get an SDR and you work tandem to try to fill up the calendar with more appointments, so it's like, what's going on? Let's figure it out.
Yeah, no. And I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, it's, salespeople generally, they have to be held accountable, right? And if they're not filling up their time with prospecting, then finding how right to produce those revenue numbers that are your goals is super important. Lydia's got another comment here. Consider flipping the sales model where, for example, investment advisors have sales assistants. I mean, that's okay. I always enjoyed that top of the funnel, right? So I've been doing sales development for a few years now. And the thing about that, right, is account executives will go for the low-hanging fruit first. And they'll go, they'll work the things that'll close sooner. And how do you make sure that everything else is still being worked because it all still has value? And so I think that's the problem with that particular model of just having like sales assistants, is that if you're being directed by the AE, you may not get as much as you could from a business standpoint. What do you think?
I completely agree. I mean, if you look at it, like the marketing team is probably doing a lot of great effort, to put out the brand and to get the leads. And you just want to make sure that we used to say like no leads left behind. If there's anything there, let's at least follow up and call them and try to talk to them. And then, if the sales rep is doing that, again, great. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
We've got full coverage on the inbound leads. And then also, are we doing enough targeted strategic outbound, to the top accounts? And do we know everybody? And are we mapping out the top accounts? And again, if that's happening and we feel really confident there, then great, we're all set. But if either of those two, if you kind of analyze the inbound lead follow-up process and then how targeted outbound is going and stuff is falling through the cracks, that could be an indicator for using sales development.
Yeah. It comes down to strategy, right? So what's being worked and what percentage is it being worked and how can it be better is sort of that standard sales leadership thing that you do. So, so you have a new book that's out.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So tell me about that.
Available. Yeah. So I'm super stoked about this. I mean, I'm like the most, scatterbrained person on earth. So just to have something actually that we produced is awesome. And it's essentially, we do a sales development manager class quarterly. And we've been doing that for a few years. And so this is basically like, if you're going to start a sales development team or you're running one, or even, if you're an SDR and you want to move up and become a manager, it's a process that we lay out and give them the steps to do it. So we basically took that and put it into a book form. So, instead of paying $500 to go to the class, this is, I think, less than 20 on Amazon, and you could do it yourself. So yeah, it's great.
So does it have all of the content from the class, or is it really, okay, so everything is in there, huh?
All the secrets. I mean, the only thing you don't get is me like reading it to you and answering questions and stuff like that, or one of the Tenbound trainers. But I mean, it's all in there. And we're actually, not to get ahead of myself, but we do an SDR training class, and we're working on the book of that one too. But yeah,
cool.
It's really cool. So it gives you like a framework. And when I was writing it with my co-author Kyle, we had the framework. So we're like, in this one-day class, we covered this, and that, and those became the chapters. And then it was just like, drawing out like what do we actually cover in each.
Awesome. All right. So if you were to give one tip from that book, right, that you think people would think was super useful, what's one thing you would say?
Yeah, I think the kind of the different angle that we take with this is it's really a leadership book that's kind of disguised as a management book. And so what I mean by that is the first chapter and where we start with the training is we go into the culture that you're going to build with your team and really establishing that and making sure that it's documented and you understand what is the culture that I want to lead with at the team and develop, and making sure that that's unique to you as a leader. And that's sort of the foundation for moving forward. And then we go into like all the technical aspects of running an SDR team. So I love that kind of stuff. I'm much more of a, artsy type of person or whatever. And so we go into that. And I think that was unique.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to get the book.
Lydia, you're awesome.
That's so needed, David. Yes, I love Lydia.
Yeah.
She is actually joining me in May for one of my ladies' happy hours, and I'm excited to get her on We're going to talk about what's top of mind for that diverse group of ladies. So, but Lydia is a frequent visitor over here at Sales and Leadership with Heart on LinkedIn Live. So,
that's awesome.
So when I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, I noticed that you're an Eagle Scout. And so my husband's an Eagle Scout. And so I know there's a big project that goes on, and I was super curious. What was your project to earn your Eagle Scout?
That's funny. Yeah, only 4% of Boy Scouts or Scouts now become Eagle Scouts. So kudos to your husband. He's one of the elite. Yeah. But, no, it's funny. My dad is moving. He's lived in the same house for 50 years plus, 52 years, and he's moving. So my entire youth is in a box in his garage right now. And it's funny, I was looking through there and I found my Eagle stuff and my merit badges and all that. But my project was, it's very briefly, funny story. We have a wildlife museum in Walnut Creek, California. And we did a big landscaping, retaining wall, drip system project. And with all native plants and everything. And it looked amazing. It had a little plaque and stuff like that. And probably less than a year later, they came and just bulldozed the whole thing out and built an entirely new museum there. So it was a great experience for me, and nothing goes to waste, right? None of your experiences, but it's not there anymore, but that's okay.
Oh, that's so sad. It's so sad.
Life is temporary.
My husband built picnic tables, tables at a recovery center. So I guess they used to always go meet outside, but had folding chairs for this recovery center. So they built 6 giant picnic tables so that the counselors could go meet with the folks outside and enjoy the sunshine. And I believe they're still there, which I didn't realize was a bonus, right? That's still there.
That's awesome. I mean, it's such a great organization. And, I when you're going through it, the first half of it, I was a kid, and I was just obsessed with merit badges. I just wanted to get the badges and the patches. And I was I didn't even care what we were learning or any of that stuff. I just wanted the patches. And then you transition to be a teenager and you want, a leather jacket and a motorcycle and, to look cool. So then you start eye rolling, and I just somehow squeezed in at the end part, getting the Eagle. I wanted to get that. And then I was out. And, but looking back as an adult, it's such a great organization. And it's the learning the values and the responsibility and stuff like that is great for kids. And I'm trying to get my kid to go into it, and he's just he's on the fence right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, no, I have a Cub Scout and I have a Girl Scout. So I'm very familiar with both organizations, right? And so my son, who is going to be turning 7 soon, so he started out as a Lion Cub, which was a new program to start out that early. But the derby, racing the cars and then, making the boat to go float and that stuff and getting together with other little boys was that was a big deal for him. He so enjoyed it because he was super little. And my husband's, the Eagle Scout. So of course he's going to take him to Cub Scouts. But he enjoyed it once he got there. If you asked him, he was like, eh. But as soon as he got there and started doing the things, he was all in. Now, my daughter is all about earning her badges, the cybersecurity badge, and how many badges can I get, and how can I, give my daughter a public speaking opportunity? And she's like, oh, I get to go talk to all the parents about what? And so, my daughter's all in too, but she's learned so much from dragging her little wagon around the neighborhood to building a cookie booth for cookie season to set outside of Publix and figuring out how to design it and what she wants and all that. Like if she didn't have that opportunity, I don't know that she would be the little girl she is today. And I mean, so she's going on 10 and she's been doing it since kindergarten. So those,
oh, wow.
Those, yeah. And I was never a Girl Scout. Like I was like, I would look at the Girl Scouts in school and wish I could do that because my mom's an immigrant. And so we had Polish Girl Scouts. And so what they would do is send me to Pennsylvania where like, if I didn't speak in Polish the entire time, I was on like punishment and I had to go sit in the church and pray until I got my Polish better. So yeah, that's a very different experience.
Yeah.
Well,
I admire those organizations. I mean, they were way ahead of their time with gamification, they call it now.
Yeah.
And, you know, they make everything's a level and you keep trying to get to the next level. And you can learn a lot, you know, if you're running a company from the way that they do things. So yeah, we got some questions. Lydia wanted to know what Webelos means. It means we'll be loyal scouts. And it's like the gateway from Cub Scouts to Boy Scouts.
Yeah. And then there's a gold award for Girl Scouts at the end where, you know, they basically, it's the same thing. They have a project and it has to be sort of a sustainable thing. Whatever it is, right? So my daughter is working on her bronze award right now, right? And they're doing stuff for pets. So she's got like 20 hours of community service. She's got presentations on why it's so important to, you know, treat pets great and how to take care of pets and, you know, just
nice.
A project all around animals.
It's just great. You know, it's great preparation for life. You know, I mean, it's and you don't see it at the time. I think that you've got to, like you know, you need some separation. And as you look at it as an adult, you're like, oh my God, like they're learning how to live and be successful. And it's very subtle the way that, and they don't even realize it, you know, at the time. They're just doing cool stuff. So, yeah.
Well, yeah. And I mean, like for my daughter's, she has a community service project she had to do for school, just in general, like just school, right? So she did it about bullying. So she had a PowerPoint presentation and she took it to each class and presented it and then had the classes, you know, like create posters for anti-bullying. And then they put the posters up all over the school. And if she had not experienced like those presentation skills from her early years of Girl Scouts, I mean, standing in her princess dress in kindergarten, telling the parents about why they should enroll their daughters in Girl Scouts and how much she loved the sleepover, you know, like that experience, she wouldn't have gotten there without that. So I'm a big fan. All right, well, we're like out of time. Like we talk. It's amazing how fast a half an hour can go.
Yeah.
But I like so appreciate you coming on and just sharing your insights on that. Like every time I see one of those posts about the full sales cycle versus sales development, I'm like, man, you're missing something. But you know, nobody wants to argue with anyone else on social media.
Yeah.
So thank you. I appreciate it. And so let me tell you about what I've gotten tomorrow night. I've got ladies happy hour, which I've got a lineup of just, besides myself, 7 amazing ladies who are going to be sharing their insights. And it's specifically mom life. So they're all working moms and going to be talking about the lessons learned, some of their struggles. But I encourage everyone to join us, you know, male and women alike. Everyone is welcome. I think for male sales leaders, specifically getting to understand the insights to create those inclusive cultures has a lot of value. And then next week on Tuesday, I've got Destiny Brandt, and she's going to bring some real talk on sales recruiting, which, you know, she works with a lot of tech companies, but she's got a way about her where she'll just tell it like it is. So you don't want to miss that. But I'm going to thank you, David. I'm just going to play a little bit of a promo so you can get a taste of what this ladies happy hour thing is all about. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for everyone who stayed, even though I had technical issues and kept on disappearing. Appreciate it. Thank you.
First beginning now. And people say, if I would have known back then what I know now, no, like I had to hit rock bottom for so many reasons. I always say, like, if rock bottom had a basement, I found it. If I had to go through all of that shit to be able to come out on the other side and to look back and say, now I see why it all happened that way. Now I can connect the dots. This is why it happened this way. This was the ripple effect. And I'm stronger for it. And I'm a better mother. And I'm a better career professional. And I'm a better friend, better daughter, better coach, better whatever. Then that's my lesson. So all I can say is just to finish off, and then I promise I'll stop. School gives you the lesson before the test. Life gives you the test before the lesson. And I have no regrets for that.
Yeah, that is so true. That is so true.
What a way, what a way to wrap it up, Michelle.